So I want to thank everybody for being here. Speaking to everyone is way more emotional than I anticipated it being. We have been addressing all the lineups and all the officers since yesterday regarding the death of our officer, Joshua Castellano. So please bear with me. It's been very emotional for myself and for everyone who's here to support us and to support the men and women and to support the family of Josh Castellano. And I want to thank the fire department who are here just to support us, understanding what it is to have to mourn the loss of one of your own. So on September 17th at approximately 4 a.m., there was a vehicle collision in Las Vegas, Nevada. In that vehicle was Officer Joshua Castellano, Officer BJ Ferraro, Officer John Trueheart, and Officer Matt Borges. The accident struck multiple fixed objects and another vehicle, ultimately resulting in the death of Officer Joshua Castellano. He was given life-saving measures on scene and transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. It is with a extremely heavy heart that we learned about this yesterday morning from Las Vegas Sheriff's Department. The operator of the vehicle, Officer Ferraro, was arrested for the applicable charges relative to this incident. This is all information that we are getting from Las Vegas Police Department. As it's being reported to us, we are in constant communication with them. This is an ongoing investigation, obviously led by Las Vegas PD. What I would like to just do is just talk about Josh. He was a 7-year veteran. He was hired in July of 2014. In the academy, you knew that Josh had the thing that's not teachable. I was the district manager for Westville West Hills at the time, and when the new academy classes come out, what we do as district managers is we pick versus our needs what we need for the district, what types of officers we need for the district, what we're lacking. I just had 2 officers move on to detective and into a task force, and I needed officers who would be able to fill that role. And I knew that Josh was that officer, so I was his first supervisor. He worked for me as a walking beat in Westville, and he worked very, very hard, and he was very, very passionate, and he gave me a lot of gray hairs. But anytime I was like, Josh, what's going on? You know, he always would like, you know, at the time I was Sarge, he's like, but Sarge, this and that, and he knew everybody. He knew everybody to the point that we received a text message from a woman who lives in Westville Manor, his walking beat initially, saying that her heart was broken, and calling him by the nickname that they had given him out in Westville Manor. So he did not only touch the men and women of this police department, but the community as well. His most recent assignment was to the Shoot Task Force. That's a very close unit that works alongside the rest of our plainclothes units in the Detective Bureau and obviously with the detectives. But prior to that, he was in the Hill District before he was in Westville, and everybody has a story about Josh. Every officer will be able to talk to you about Josh. At this time, we thank everyone for allowing us to grieve and to mourn. We are supporting each other, but we also are supporting his family. And it's a very difficult time for all of us. But we are doing our best, and our biggest concern is just the well-being of our officers. Our officers are under a lot of stress as it is, coupled with working long hours and keeping the citizens of New Haven safe, and now they're also dealing with a loss of their own. At this time, we'll take any questions.
How is the family doing communication with them?
We are in constant communication. We have an officer there 24/7 with his mother. I can't imagine how you grieve losing anybody, let alone your son. So we are doing everything that we can to give full support and to be her family right now and for the foreseeable future.
I know you already mentioned this comment, but you get backtrack too. If there was one thing that you take with you your time with God, what would it be?
Josh, just his personality. He is the officer who came to work every single day happy to be here. He didn't care what his assignment was. He was happy. He didn't complain. He did his job with passion. He was compassionate. He was the full package. He could run and chase a suspect in the shoot task force, and he would be the first one to be like, are you okay? And at the end, Chief Jacobson said this yesterday, the individual that he arrested, because he wasn't a shoot task force, so he wasn't targeting individuals, would be like, I'm sorry. And they would be having a conversation, and he's able to connect with anybody. But when he was working in Westville, I mean, the kids loved him. He just had both sides. And like I said earlier, he had the thing you couldn't teach. We try to teach our officers. It's something that I can't even describe in words, but he had it. And he was the whole package. And he was just so passionate and driven to be a police officer and to take on every role that being a police officer meant.
So can you describe that? Because, I think sometimes people don't know you lose some power. It sounds like this is your profession. It's more than just power. It really is. But
It absolutely is a brother. And the grief and the pain that the men and women of the police department are going through is that of a brother. You spend 8 hours, 16 hours with somebody, you are in their wedding. You know their children. He knew everyone's children and they all knew him. All the kids knew him. So it's something that we can't put into words, what this loss is.
Were the other New Haven police officers in the car seriously injured?
They were minor injuries where they were treated and released.
So is there anyone in the hospital currently?
There is no one in the hospital currently.
Were there only 4 officers on vacation in Las Vegas?
There was only 4 officers in the vehicle.
I know it's a tough situation, but remind us again the policy in terms of when an officer is charged with something like a DUI and reckless driving. Remind us again about the policy.
So we have policies in place in order to address these, and we are following those policies. That's why they're there. So what happens is an officer is placed on administrative leave, and we begin our own investigation, even though it is off-duty conduct, and it's across the board for any situation like this.
Will the other officers also be part of that leave, or?
No, they will not. No.
Thank you.
in terms of Officer Robert Barrow, is there anything that you would want to share with us of what he did for the station of his day-to-day before all of this?
We're grieving multiple things today, but honestly, our focus is the officers who are here with us, and how the officers are going to be able to get through this type of tragedy that affects, both Officer Castellano and Officer Ferraro. Okay, thank you, everybody.